our legal officer, which is Ms Haywood, our licensing officer, which is Ms Pritchard, someone from committee admin, which is our senior committee admin administrator, and that is Mrs Ridge. We have from trading standards, Liam Kelly. We have an investigating officer for when the premises was visited, and that is Mr Howell. We have from the police, PC Brookfield. Those are the people that I am aware of from the council's side of things. I think we also have Solicitor Presenters. Is that Miss Cartmel?
It is, Ma'am, yes. Ms.
Thank
Cartmel
you. Unfortunately, I realise that you're on probably in a slightly even more difficult position. You're on the phone. In front of me, I do have various dots, but it doesn't. All it shows me is a turquoise dot, and you all look the same. So I'm hoping that I've introduced everyone. Obviously, the licence holder, Mr. I've not got your name. I apologise.
It's Mr. Madiva. Sorry, Mavardia. Sorry, he's here with me, Ma'am. I'm actually at the premises currently, sat with my client, obviously complying with COVID.
Right, that's fine. You're just a little bit faint, if possible. I know it's difficult. If you could just. Well, you are to me. I don't know about the other members.
I can speak up, Ma'am. I'm very good at projecting my voice.
That's brilliant. Thank you. So that I think
Chair,
covers.
Chair, sorry to interrupt. Can we just confirm who else we have got on the line? Because they're the names that I was given, but I'm not sure who's actually joined the meeting. So can we just confirm, have we got Liam Kelly?
Yes, I'm here, yeah.
Paul Arnoud?
Yes, I'm here.
Ian Howell?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
PC Ben Brookfield?
Yes, good morning.
Is there anybody else on the line who we've not mentioned? No, that's fine then. Thank you, Chair.
Hopefully, right, there we are. So I've mentioned everybody that hopefully is in the room. And we're here to look at a licensing review for Best One, 836 to 838 Bury Road. And the license is held by N&K Retail. So I'm going to first of all just ask if there are any declarations of interest, and then I'm going to go on to just to outline what will happen for this particular hearing. So are there any declarations of interest?
Yes, Chair, Councillor Newall. This shop falls within my ward. I am aware of where the shop is, but I have had no involvement with either the shop proprietor, anybody involved with the shop, or any casework regarding this shop. So I do not feel that I'm compromised in any way to listen to this hearing today.
And you don't live in the area either, do you? So
No, I don't.
No, that's fine. Okay, well, thank you for that.
I've no objection to that. You can put that on the record. I don't object to that, Councillor.
Thank you for that, Ms. Cartmel. That's very helpful. Right, well, I'll just briefly outline what is going to happen. I know, Ms. Cartmel, I think you've probably done other hearings like this.
Yes, ma'am.
And certainly I know that members of the panel have. But what will happen is we're here to review the licence for Best One. In a few moments, I will ask the licensing officer to present the case. That is Miss Pritchard. She will probably bring in the trading standards, the investigating officer and the police. They will all give their evidence, and we will be able to ask questions as you will. You will be able to ask questions on what they have said. And then you will be given the opportunity to explain what you feel about what they've said and put forward your case. We then will ask people to sum up, and when everybody's had their last chance, we will ask you to leave, and we will make a decision. That decision will be conveyed to you in writing within 5 working days, I believe. Is that correct, Mrs. Ridge?
Yes, it is, Chair.
So if there's any questions, I know it's not easy doing this via Teams and Zoom meetings, but if there are any questions, then please do alert me if you possibly can. Sometimes there's a hand you can stick, but if not, just jump in. When it is your turn to speak, well, I'm sorry, I'm just going to ask, normally we wait for a red square. Clearly, if you're dealing with this from the phone, you won't see a red square. So, Mr. Duckett, what happens?
We'll just continue as we do normally, Councillor Fairclough. All
right, just they don't have to wait.
No, if all speakers that are going to have their camera on wait for the red box, but everybody else, there'll be a slide on the screen for them. Okay, that's fine. Thank you for that. Right, in that case, we will, I think, get started. So I'm going to ask Ms. Pritchard, please, to outline the position for the licensing.
Thank you, Chair. So you've had the report. There's nothing to add to what you've already received, other than I just wanted to clarify, just confirm that you've had the letter with the petition from the premises and the references.
Yes, and there was one came this morning as well, wasn't there?
Yes.
And everybody's had that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. And other than what's in the report, that there's nothing to add at this point. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Can I ask then if Mr. Kelly or Mr. Arnott have anything that they wish to add?
Yes. Yeah, this is Liam Kelly from Trading Standards. Right. Everyone hopefully will have received and read the application, but just to highlight the main points, based on intelligence received, officers visited the premises in December. A significant quantity of illicit tobacco was seized, plus several hundred laughing gas cylinders, together with the balloons that are used for inhaling the gas. And it's a concern, as stated in Appendix 2, that further police intelligence seems to indicate the sale of illegal tobacco and gas canisters is continuing. So that's just a quick summary.
Thank you. Is there anything from Mr. Howell? Is there anything that you, as the investigating officer, is there anything you wish to add?
Just to clarify, I wasn't an investigating officer. I'm just an interested party. So I have no affiliations with the council. I just represent one of the brand holders of some of the products that was seized during the operation. So I'm an interested party. But nothing to add other than was in our representation.
Apologies for the interruption, but yes. I am on the telephone. As I understand it, there were 15 packs, but 15 packs of 24. I think there was only 60 canisters, not 700. I think that's incorrect. Can I clarify that, please?
Yeah, by all means you can. Normally we would wait to the end of this part, and then I would ask you if you have any questions regarding what's been put forward. I can understand why you would want to jump in with that, and we will get that clarified, but you'll be given a full opportunity before you speak to make any representations. Right, so Mr. Howell, you actually work for a company that produces some of this, is it tobacco or is that correct?
Yes, some of the trademarks seized were our trademarks.
Right, okay. Thank you very much. And PC Brookfield, is there anything that you want to add?
No, my point, ma'am, has already been made, and it pops just to reiterate that obviously since the trading standards operation in which the products were found, the canisters, the laughing gas nitrous oxide canisters were found, obviously we've still received information on the 3rd of February, which is obviously quite recent, that this activity is still ongoing, which is obviously a big concern considering the find back in December.
Right, thank you. So that is the council's case. Is there anything that Councillor Morris or Councillor Newall wish to ask about what's just been said?
No.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to hand over now to Miss Cartmel, and obviously I realise you definitely do have some questions of the officers. So if you'd like to ask the questions, and then we'll be given an opportunity to put your evidence forward.
Smashing, thank you, Chair. Really, there's just a couple of issues. The first one was to clarify the gas canisters, the nitrous oxide, how many packets there were, or cylinders of that. As I understand it, there were 360. Could I have that clarified, please?
Yes. Is there somebody able to clarify that from one of the either the trading standards or Miss Pritchard or the police?
This is
Chair.
Liam Kelly from Trading Standards.
Thank you.
I wasn't present at the operation, but the information I have is it was 375 cylinders. There is the officer, an officer, Mr. Arnold, was present. I don't know if you can confirm that.
Page 5 of the agenda, Chair, it just says 375.
Right.
Is that
Is Mr. Arno able to just clarify?
Yes, good morning. As I understand it, 15 boxes containing 375 cylinders of nitrous oxide gas.
I'm grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is that right? Have you any other questions, Miss Cartmel, on what's been presented?
I have, yes, Mom. It's just
right.
one or two regarding the tobacco.
Yeah.
The tobacco in question that was seized.
Yes.
We accept that the Amber Leaf, there were 2 lots of items that were bought from a different supplier. There were 2 sleeves of Richmond and 20 packs of Amber Leaf in total. The rest of that tobacco was all legitimately purchased and is legitimate. So has that tobacco been sent away to the trademark holders, and do you have evidence that other tobacco is illicit?
Right. So I think that would come to our investigate. Would that be the investigating officer, Ian Howell? Well, that's what you've been classed as here, Mr. Howell.
Sorry, Chair, it's Paul Arnold here. I'm the investigating officer. I was there present when the seizure took place. If I may, I can answer that question.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that the Richmond King size and the Amber Leaf weren't in plain packaging, they were seized, and I think the admission there is that it is actually counterfeit. The other items were taken because there was reasonable suspicion to believe, due to the vicinity of where they were stored, that they could possibly be illicit tobacco. Therefore, they were seized. Due for operational purposes down to COVID and the limited time that we can go into the office, they haven't been awaited for analysis yet, but we are still within the legal framework time limits to do so.
Chair, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I accept completely the response given by the officer there. Our case will be is that the Amber Leaf and the Richmond were purchased through somebody else. All the other tobacco, apart from those 2, we don't accept that they were counterfeit, but we accept that we don't know the legitimacy of where it was sourced from. The other tobacco, apart from those two, we maintain is absolutely legitimate, and we can provide the receipts for those. So that was the point I was making with the question, the fact that that other tobacco has not come back and confirmed as counterfeit or illicit yet. And none of the tobacco has really, but we accept that those two items were purchased from a different supplier.
Right. Well, obviously you'll be able to make that point when it's your opportunity, which may be very soon. So, have you any other questions of the officers or the case that's been presented?
No. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Okay. Well, in that case, Ms. Greenwood, we then come to you and your client for you to explain to the committee your side of things. I know you've already said about it having been purchased from a different source. So if you'd like to present your case, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if the committee are aware of the premises. This is a Best One shop. It's a local convenience store, and it has a post office. A post office is an integral part of the business, and certainly for the last 10 years, my client has ran the post office and the convenience store without issue. He is a man of good character. He has never been in trouble in his life and has been an active part of the local community. He is a trained first aider, and he is an NHS first responder. He's done that since March last year. He raises money for cancer research, and even a few weeks ago he was telling me he was delivering canned food to the Urban Outreach Centre in Bolton. So this is a gentleman of good character. He is not someone who has ever been in trouble with the law before. He had a struggle last year to keep the post office open. The post office and the convenience store, it's a difficult operation to run, especially in current times. He managed to save the post office, and he's been, like I've said, an integral part of the community during the pandemic. He's been offering free delivery services to local people, and during the height of the pandemic, he made sure he sourced extra hand sanitizer, toilet roll plasters and other scarce items for the community. He didn't take any extra profit to this like other shops did. He likes to think he's an important part of the Brightneck community. Now, during lockdown, my client, he's had a new baby. So he was away from the premises for more than he would usually be. During that period, a member of staff has rung him up and said, someone's come in to sell some tobacco. It was someone that he knew through somebody else. At the time, he was at home with a new baby, and they said there was 20 packets of tobacco and 2 sleeves of cigarettes. So he said to the staff at the time, how much did he want for them? He paid £350. So those tobacco items were paid for, and they were left. They were actually in a carrier bag, duty-free carrier bag, behind the till. They were
Hello, I'm sorry. It seemed for me I lost sound then.
Oh right, I'll try.
I got up to the duty-free carrier bag was left, and you went blank then, I'm afraid.
Oh right, yes, it wasn't mixed in with the other tobacco, and absolutely 1,000,000% we maintain that all the other tobacco has been purchased from suppliers where we have the invoices for. So there's all of the other tobacco there cannot be a problem with. The only tobacco that we cannot say 100% is legitimate are the Amber Leaf and the Richmond cigarettes. We're not saying that there is a problem with them, but I can't say with confidence that there are no issues with that tobacco. That's our case. Now, the other issue that has been highlighted in the report were the gas canisters. Now, there's been quite a lot of press reportings regarding the gas canisters. I think a point my client would like to mention is there's actually an article in the newspaper regarding another premises that was selling these gas canisters, and a photograph of this premises was attached to the news report. So there has been some reports in the newspaper that are incorrect, which perhaps could account for some of the complaints or the intelligence that the council have. I know one of the council officers, or the investigators, made reference to the fact that there's intelligence that this premises is still selling tobacco. In fact, the premises was visited, sorry, what day was it? Last Thursday, this premises was visited on the basis of intel. The tobacco dogs were brought. I spoke to the council officers while they were here. No tobacco was in this premises. There isn't any other tobacco in this premises. And any intelligence received will be complaints from other premises or as a result of the publicity received that was incorrect in the paper. The gas canisters, if you can look through the documents that I sent through, there is a statement from Steve Patterson. He lives in Brightneck. I don't know if he's, and it says to Bolton Council, he has been purchasing the nitrous oxide from Best One since March 2020. They use it for their stall in the Lever Street Market in Bolton. Now, I'm not going to say to you that that is the only use of these canisters, but the reason that those canisters were purchased is because this customer has an ongoing need for them, and he sources them from my client. Now, since all the publicity has come about in the paper, he realises that these products can be abused and now has completely stopped selling these. I've advised him that if this customer wants to get any future orders, that order must be done direct to him and they mustn't be stored in the shop. He will go and pick them up, collect them and source them for him in that way to ensure they are not on the premises. We're not talking here about a dodgy back street off licence. You know, this is a post office, an established post office with good operators, and this is the first issue that this premises has had. Now they realise the potential abuse of that product will not be sold in the store, and my client would be happy to accept the condition as such and say that the product would not be on the premises or available for sale. The intel that's been received about selling tobacco, as I've just stated, the premises were visited this week. They had the tobacco dogs. The tobacco dogs, in my experience, I worked for Blackpool Council for 12 years doing illicit tobacco. They would react, even if there was tobacco in the store and that tobacco had been moved, the dogs would give an indication. As I understand it, no indications were given because there was no tobacco on the premises, because the intel is incorrect. The licence holder has provided some other references, one from Maxwell Chemist, one from the Greenwood James letting agent, and there's also the Greenhouse Opticians and a petition. I think the purpose of the references and the petition is to give you an accurate picture of the premises. When you first read the papers, you know, it doesn't look good because it highlights some problems with the premises. But when you take into account the background, the history of the premises, and the actual evidence we're considering here, yes, there were canisters on the premises. We accept there were canisters on the premises. We accept that we were selling the canisters. That was an error. Well, I don't even think it was an error, actually. I think it was just simply that hadn't been highlighted to my clients. Now they know the issues with them. That could be dealt with by way of condition. The illicit tobacco, that can be dealt with by way of condition on the premises, saying that all tobacco and alcohol products must be purchased from a legitimate supplier, and invoices of proof of purchase must be retained on the premises for a period of 12 months and made available to officers immediately. There are also conditions such as, not really an issue with alcohol, but you can have UV lights to ensure that the authenticity of your alcohol items, anything over 35 centilitres requires a UK duty stamp, which would show up on a UV light. So those are conditions that would more than adequately deal with the issues that have arisen at the premises. My client has also had all the staff trained by myself. I was a BII trainer for years and years whilst I was at Blackpool, and we conducted training almost on a daily basis to different premises. I'm a higher court advocate, and I specialise in licensing and specifically trading standards illicit tobacco matters. I've introduced a tobacco policy, which means that staff are not even allowed to bring illicit tobacco into this premises in their pockets. If they've got some duty-free cigarettes that they brought back off holiday, if my client finds them on their person in this premises, they will be subject to disciplinary procedures, because he wants to ensure that this never occurs again. I think any further comments I'll say for my summing up, if that's okay, Chair.
Yes, that's fine. I'm now going to go to the other to the committee and the other officers to ask if they have any questions of what you've said. I think I've had an indication from Councillor Newall. I could only see the very top bit, and I think I've got your initials, Debbie, but
yeah.
Have you indicated that you wish to ask a question?
Yes, please, Chair.
Right,
yeah.
Thank you. If you'd like to ask your question, then please.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions, actually. Firstly, regarding the cylinders, you're telling us that your client didn't realise that cylinders had an illicit use until he was told that most recently, and that he had a quantity, it was 375, 15 boxes containing 375 cylinders on the premises for the use of one customer. Is that what you're saying?
No, apologies, Ma'am. I'm not saying there was one customer. I'm saying they were ordered in because of that customer. We accept that if someone else could have come in and asked for them, then they would have been sold to them. I'm not saying that would be ridiculous to say that they were just there and that was used.
Well, you did say they were bought on the premise that they would supply this customer who has a stall on the market. That's what you said. Right. Well, working on that premise that you've got all these cylinders on the premises for legal use, can you tell us why there were a large quantity of balloons on the premises next to the cylinders?
Balloons. And I don't know if I could say, we sell, there's all sorts of party items. There are balloons, there are banners, there are, it's a post office. It sells birthday cards and stuff like that. There's all sorts of items like that.
So right. So the balloons that were next to the cylinders weren't relevant to the cylinders. They were just parts of party items that are sold in the.
Yeah, I think there's only one packet of balloons. and it was just a normal packet of balloons.
Well, we could question that with the officers. The officers say there was a large quantity of balloons. But, so the balloons are innocent. The balloons are of innocent use.
Yeah. Page 27, Mom, you can see a photograph of the item seized, and there was only one packet of balloons.
Right. And regarding the cigarettes, the reason why there were illicit cigarettes in the shop is that the proprietor was at home with his new baby, and a member of staff rang him to say that somebody had come into the shop and had some cigarettes for sale, and they were a good price. So he bought them, and he realises that he shouldn't have done that. Yeah. And they're the only illicit cigarettes. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely, Mom. And they were in a separate carrier bag, not mixed in with anything else. They weren't concealed. They were behind the counter.
Right. Well, also within those cigarettes, there were some half packets and packets with cigarettes taken out. So can you explain why there was half packets?
The staff had been smoking them. They're still there now, apparently. Now the staff, the staff.
So the staff were going in, taking one cigarette out, smoking it, and leaving the packet where it was.
Oh no, they were the staff's own cigarettes, apparently, that they'd left out on the side.
Right, and you're saying that your client has over 10 years experience as a proprietor of a shop like this. Surely he knows the correct way to source tobacco.
He never normally sources tobacco like this, and that's where he has gone wrong. He was literally, the tobacco wasn't actually that cheap when you look at the prices of it. It wasn't a price that would make you instantly concerned about the legitimacy of it. So it was literally one carrier bag full. He will never do it ever again.
In 10 years, he has illegally sourced tobacco on one occasion, and on this one occasion was when the officers came into the shop and found it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Miss Cartman.
Thank you.
Councillor Morris, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm getting a bit confused here. Why hasn't the client not come to this committee meeting?
He has, I think.
Give some questions.
He has.
He has. He's with Miss Cartmel.
He's what?
He's here with me, sir.
Some of those questions I would have preferred to answer that Debbie asked, but so long as he's there, if there's any other questions, I may want to ask him some questions.
Oh, no. I did mention at the start of the hearing, sir, he's here with me. We're in the shop and we're compliant with COVID. We've both got masks on.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So have you any other questions, Mr. Morris, Councillor Morris?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'd just like to ask, it's really following on, I suppose, from Councillor Newall. Am I correct in what you've said is that your client was off work because a new baby had been born and he was staying away for a week or two?
Yes.
And he had a member of staff in the shop who was approached by somebody who they knew vaguely through somebody else.
Yeah, he said he knew the owner.
Right, and he came in and he said, I know the owner of the shop, and I've got these cigarettes here in this duty-free carrier bag.
He didn't know it was duty-free at the time. It was only when he realised it. Just the staff just said he's come in with some cigarettes, and he wants £350. There are 20 packets and 2 sleeves, and he said, yeah, that seems like a good price, just buy them, but leave them behind the till for me.
Right, now I have to be honest, that seems to me, I've had, in fact, I used to have a post office, so I know all about post offices, and I know that when people come in and say, I've got this, do you want to buy it? Alarm bells would ring for me. I would think, well, why is somebody selling me this? And we all know that there isn't a massive margin on cigarettes, particularly cigarettes that are legally bought. So, you know, if you're going to get them and they're cheaper, there must be a reason for this. And so, well, I'd just like to know why on this one occasion somebody comes in on the one time that your client isn't present, that he takes a phone call from his member of staff who says this person come in, he says he knows you, and he's got these this carrier bag full of cigarettes, and there's so many packets, and he wants this much for them, and it obviously has got to be cheaper than where you would be buying them wholesale. And so you say, well, all right, yeah, that's great, yeah, take them and pay him, and get a receipt, which I presume you're able to produce. If you look at it from our point of view, that seems a little bit odd.
Well, absolutely, and I understand that. Normally, you see, the only time it's happened, normally my client would be here. So if someone came into the shop, he would see the tobacco, he would ask for the receipts that go with them, and he would turn them away. That's why it would never normally happen. And then the reason that this has happened on this time, it's like I mentioned, the gentleman wasn't known to my client, but he's a friend of a friend. So he's come in and he said, I'm sorry, I don't know the gentleman's name. I'm Roger's friend, and that's why this time, because he knew him through somebody else. That's the only reason he said, yeah, that's why they weren't too cheap, and he thought because it was a friend of a friend that there would be no issues with the tobacco.
Right. So when you say they weren't too cheap, they must have been a good price. I mean, why would he bother, to be honest?
Oh, they were £350.
Yeah.
£350 he paid.
Yeah. And he's got a receipt for that.
There's no receipt, no.
No. So there's no receipt.
Is
the gentleman
put in the till? There's a handwritten note, Mum, that was put in the till that the staff said to take the money out, and they've just written on it tobacco, £350, but that's just handwritten by the staff. It's
right.
Not worth...
No, I understand that. So when they rang your client and said this man who knows a friend of yours, they obviously had a name. They didn't put that down. Has your client tried to contact this man again through this friend of his to ask if he would, become a witness for him?
He's contacted his friend who really didn't know anything about it. He's contacted his friend only afterwards and said, hey, what about someone's coming to the shop saying that you sent them in with the tobacco? He said, well, I don't know anyone that. Whether that friend is telling the truth or not, I don't know. But that's obviously the first thing he did to him, say, he's horrified by it. Yeah,
I realise this. I mean, it is, you would have us believe, a catalogue of errors. And at no point did any alarm bells ring with your client or with his staff that somebody who comes in and knows a friend of a friend with a bag full of cigarettes at a price that's not obviously the right price, but just a bit below. So they didn't think, oh, well, this could be a bit dodgy. I'll take more information from him. I'll get his name and his address, and I'll ask him, why is it you're selling me these cigarettes that are cheaper? And just at the same time, almost like the perfect storm, in walks Trading Standards.
Mom, can I just interrupt? And this is starting the way you're asking the question sounds like predetermination, and I understand you've got to challenge my client's case, but you're basically saying that you don't believe anything my client's saying, and you've not seen to private session yet. So my only concern is I can explain to you it wasn't a catalogue of errors. It was a single thing that happened on one day. It was a single item, and you read comments like, this is recorded, you're expecting us to believe, and I'm asking you to listen to my client's case with an open mind, and it was a single thing that happened on one day, and Trading Standards came in last week, they found nothing, I understand that, you know, that there have been a couple of issues at the premises, but this isn't a massive problem premises. This is, he bought some tobacco. It was a stupid mistake. No evidence whatsoever that he sold any other tobacco over 10 years. He is a man of good character, and there must be some evidence to say that it is happening on other occasions, or for you to draw that inference.
Right. Okay. Well, if you feel that, then I apologise. That wasn't my intention. I just wanted to get it clear in my mind, the sequence of events.
Mom, I don't want to ever be disrespectful to you, but my job is to represent my client's interest with the best of my ability, and I think I would sooner say that now rather than, you know, build it later on in another forum. You know, I want to move forward. I want to work with the council, the committee, and I think it's important that you understand who my client is. Thank you, Mom. I apologise.
You don't have to apologise. That's your view. You're entitled to it.
Hillary?
Yes?
Can I just ask
Councillor Morris?
Can I ask a question now? And it's just a question. This phone call that took place between the member of staff and your client about the cigarettes.
Yes.
Can you just ask your client why he didn't speak to the man himself that was selling the cigarettes? Because it's his shop, it wasn't the member of staff's shop. Can you just ask him, please?
Well, I think, bearing in mind, I think it might help for you to speak to my client. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask him to keep his voice up, and I'm going to hand the phone over to him and ask him to deal with a couple of the questions. And then if you have any other questions of him, you know, speaking to him might put your mind at rest.
Hello. This is Nagish, I'm the premises supervisor and the owner of Best One.
Yeah, why didn't you speak to the one that was selling the cigarettes? Because he was selling them to you, not to your member of staff.
Yeah, right. Bear in mind, I had a 6-week-old baby. The lack of sleep, I'm not going to make excuses. It was purely a lack of judgment, I'd say. It was a silly mistake. And as Victoria's explained to you, the cigarettes and the tobacco were in no way intention of selling. They were, as they were in a duty-free bag behind the counter, not concealed, not hidden. In this shop, we get so many people coming in with stolen goods, all sorts. At the time, like I said, I wasn't thinking, lack of sleep, and I just said, yes, it's stupid.
All right, I accept the whole of that, but it was £360. It wasn't twopence halfpenny. But that's fair enough. I accept what you say. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I?
Sorry. Yes.
Could I ask another question, please?
Yes, Councillor Newell.
To the gentleman, the owner, if I could just ask him regarding this this customer that buys the cylinders off you. How many does he buy at any one time?
Well, at the time he was off work, so I'm presuming him and his wife were baking cakes. That's what he says. So it's possible 2 a week. 2
cylinders a week.
Yeah. No,
right.
Damn it, sorry, 2 boxes, not 2 cylinders.
2 boxes a week.
Yeah,
So you had over two and a half months.
We had 370.
Yeah. And they use 2 a week.
Yeah.
2 boxes a week. So and you're telling us that you did not know that these cylinders were used for any other purpose other than legal ones.
Well, after all this has happened, I have been looking. I do understand why this is such a problem. When I'm driving about, you see them littered all across the streets, and there were younger people coming in and asking for them, but we did refuse them because we're aware of this, and I know how it portrays to the council that we're selling them as a legal high. But
so, if you've only just been made aware that they can be used for illicit purposes, prior to being made aware of that, which is just recently, this is what you're saying, you've just found out that they can be used illicitly. Prior to that, when they were in your shop, presumably you would have sold them to anybody that asked for one because you didn't know they were used for illicit purposes.
It is a possibility. Like, for instance, when we're selling cigarettes to people, we don't know what they're going to do for them cigarettes. There's a lot of customers who can take them away and use it for cannabis.
Yeah, talking about the cylinders. You're saying you've only recently been made aware that they can be used for illicit purposes. So I'm saying you have a lot of stock. Yeah, is that right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So prior to knowing that these things can be used illicitly by young people, you would have no reason to refuse sale of them to people in your shop, would you?
I mean, if somebody under the age of 18 came and asked for them, you would refuse and ask them, "Are you making cakes or are you using for legitimate purposes?"
Well, if you didn't know there was an illicit use for them, why would you question somebody about what they were going to do with them?
I think the point he's trying to make, Chair, is if you had a raft of children walking in asking for all these, it's basically a cake making product, something would twig, wouldn't it? You'd start thinking, well, why? There can't be all these kids coming in and asking for this product. So that would have highlighted it. It's not really a premises that attracts a lot of children. It's the post office. So it was. I think that's the point he's trying to make, is that they weren't bought in for an illegitimate purpose. They were bought in for a legitimate purpose. He can't say that they've never been used for an illegitimate purpose, but it's a legal product that was bought in. And, we've got a statement from the customer that buys them.
The customer that buys them for his cake shop, his cake stall on the market, buys 2 boxes a week regularly. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, every week.
Every week. Right.
Yeah.
So my point is, you were saying that you had no idea that there was an illicit use for these cylinders until you've just been told recently. So my point is, prior to knowing that they could be used illicitly, why would you question somebody if they wanted to buy some? That was the question I was asking.
He's saying if as far as he knew, it's a catering. That's why the guy got. That's why the customer, Mr. Patterson, asked for them, because these items have a legitimate use. Just because they're on the premises doesn't mean they're used as a legal high. That he's saying, had lots of children come in asking for them, or children were asking for them, surely that would have set alarm bells off to him. Well, why are they buying them? I've worked in trading standards for 15 years, and I can honestly say, hand on my heart, this is the first time I've seen these canisters, and this is my bread and butter. So now I've seen them around, I understand the purpose for them. I've had to do a load of research. I've never had a case before involved in illegitimate tobacco. These canisters. And I work up and down the country. So although it might be a particular problem in Bolton, I can tell you, I'm in Wakefield tomorrow, I'm in Lincolnshire next week, and this was an education for me. So, although it seems beyond the realms of possibility to you, because it's something that you know about, for me, it was a shock. I didn't know you could use them for that.
Yeah, well, what we're discussing here today is what happened in the shop. And
yes,
I'm trying to establish when the proprietor knew that they could be used for illicit purposes, and you've made it very clear that he's only just found out recently that they can be used for illicit purposes. So the question I am asking is, apart from the regular customer that bought them for his perfect legitimate usage of his cake production, would they be sold in the shop? And that's what I was asking. There would be no, if you don't think something has an illegal use, I would say that there is no, why would you question why somebody's buying it? And that's the question I'm asking.
No.
But I've had my answer, so thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else any questions? Sorry? Anybody else any questions before I go to the officers? Are there any questions that you would like to ask Miss Pritchard?
No, I've no questions. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Kelly or Mr. Arnott, is there anything you would like to ask?
No, it's been a very thorough hearing. No questions. Yeah.
No
PC
questions,
Brookfield?
No, none from myself, Chair.
Well, I think we've covered everyone. I've not left anybody out, have I, Mrs. Ridge? Has everybody asked their questions?
Yeah, that's fine, Chair.
Right. So then we will go now to the summing up. So I'll ask Ms. Pritchard if she would like to sum up on behalf of the council, and then I'll come back to you, Mrs. Find your name. I do apologise, Miss Cartmel, and you and your client will have the final word. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So you're asked to have regard to the application for the review and the representations received, consider what you've heard today and take such steps, if any, that you consider necessary to promote the licensing objectives, namely either modify the conditions, exclude a licensable activity, remove the designated supervisor, suspend the licence for up to 3 months or revoke the licence. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So now, Miss Cartmel, it's up to you. As you did say that you had some things you wish to say at the summing up.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, really, I'd just like to focus your mind. This is a premises that's operated for over 10 years without incident. That is a massively important part of my client's case. There have been issues. There was a single visit where tobacco was found at the premises and the canisters. I don't intend to go through the issues surrounding the evidence, but what I would say is that this isn't a problem premises. There have been no warnings, there have been no history, there have been no previous reviews, no prosecutions, and my client is a man of good character. He holds a post office licence, so this isn't a premises that have a long-standing history. Trading Standards visited the premises and they found a small amount of tobacco and the gas canisters that were illegal to sell. Now, my client accepts now that those canisters, if they can be used for that purpose, he doesn't want to sell them in his premises. He does not want to be associated with that. I to take into account my client's proactive stance since the visit. He has taken the decision to implement the tobacco policy that was highlighted earlier. Policies have been kept relating to the purchase of alcohol and tobacco, and staff training has been conducted. He will no longer sell nitrous oxide, or if there's any other items of concern the council would rather premises didn't sell, he would be more than happy to work with the premises. For instance, if I think this gas canister is a particular issue within Bolton, and it's been highlighted in the local newspapers, that I think what would help if there are other, if the council mention it to the premises and say, listen, these are being used in a way that they weren't designed for. So if anyone's found to be selling them or any issues, then if he's given a warning, he can listen to that advice and take that information on. So look at now at how we move forward. Again, it's not for you to decide the innocence or guilt of the premises licence holder. It's for you to look at what action is necessary and appropriate to promote the licensing objectives: the prevention of crime and disorder, public nuisance, public safety, and the protection of children from harm. Now, the cigarettes have been subject to an additional search last week, and that has proved that the cigarette issue isn't in this premises and will no longer be in future. If we deal with the two issues by way of conditions, that would ensure that any future breaches of conditions would lead to not £20,000 fine now, it's an unlimited fine and 6 months in prison for each breach. That is what the Licensing Act is designed to do. Look, find the problem and then deal with the issue. Not to go above beyond that, it's only to take what action is appropriate. My client, I don't feel a suspension would really serve any legitimate purpose. Sanction can't be punitive, but if you thought that you had to go beyond conditions, then you may deem a short suspension, I would say 2 days to possibly a week, to mark the fact that there has been an issue at the premises, to show you will take a stepped approach. That's, in my submission, a suspension isn't warranted in this case. However, if you feel that you must do something as a deterrent to prevent any further issues, then I would ask you to consider a short suspension. The ultimate sanction is revocation. Now, revocation should only be used in the most serious of cases. This is a shop that hasn't had any previous intervention by the council. The council has a duty not just to do enforcement, but also to do education and to support businesses. The Licensing Act is about partnership working, and it's not just about the big stick approach. My client is eager to work with the council and has provided some fabulous references. And I'd ask for you to weigh the issues at the premises, together with the action that's been taken and the positive path that this premises has from the local community. It's a nice submission. I would just ask the client if he has anything else to add. Do you have anything to add? No. That sums up my case. Thank you very much.
Right. Well, thank you for that. I will just ask our legal officer in case there is anything that she wishes to include in about this hearing. Are you able to give us any advice before we adjourn?
Nothing before we adjourn, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, so we're now going to ask you to leave along with all the other officers. That will just leave the 3 councillors, the committee admin and our legal representative. If the rest of you were able to leave, please, that would be excellent, and we will let you know our decision within 5 working days. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.
Chair, could I?
Yes, excuse me, sorry,
I'm so sorry. It's
Yes.
Ian Howell here. I was waiting for a convenient point to bring this up. I've been checking through my records during the session ongoing, and I do have some further information that might be of interest to the committee, and I don't know if it's appropriate to bring it up now or I should put it in writing to you, because I realise it's probably a bit late.
Possibly, yes. I will ask our legal advisor.
Is this information something that's already been included within the papers, or is this new information that's additional?
It's new. It's
If
new.
it's new information, I'd need to check it as well. So if this is going to come out now, I don't know what's going to come out, but it.
Right. Well, that's well. We will listen to our legal advice. Is the information? Has it only just been made available, or have you had this information previously?
We have had the information for some time, but it's only checking through my records this morning that I've sort of tallied it up with this case.
Okay. Right. Well, I think really it probably should have been submitted much earlier than this. We've actually heard the hearing now, Mr. Howell. But I will ask our legal representative to say.
Yes, it would be unfair to submit fresh evidence at this stage. Obviously, Ms. Cartmel has indicated that any evidence she would want to go through with her client, which is completely reasonable. Ms. Cartmel, obviously, if you object to the information now being included, then we will proceed to the decision making. Otherwise, we can accept that the information can be adduced today, but it might be that we have to adjourn the matter so that Ms. Cartmel can take instructions on any new evidence.
Bearing in mind, my client is privately paying and the hearing has been concluded, I no other option than to object really at this stage, and I'd like just to proceed.
Yes, I absolutely understand where you're coming from, Ms. Cartmel. So I think, unfortunately, maybe Mr. We will decline the offer of this late submission.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for considering.
It's all right. Have I agreement with my fellow councillors on that?
Yes, we shouldn't. We can't have other evidence now.
No, I think that's great.
That's fine with me.
So, getting back to the hearing, if you would now all like to leave the meeting, and we will consider what's been said, and we will let you know in 5 days. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
John, can we end the live event as well now, please?